Welcome, my foraging friends. How are y'all doing today? I hope you're all having a great day like I am. As you can see, I had a wonderful day. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I want to say welcome. This is Skelly Bynature, and I am Skelly. And here in this channel, we talk about many things of nature, including foraging for food, foraging for medicine, how to use herbs and spices for medicine, animal behavior, making your own natural products, and there are all kinds of stuff like that. So if you're new to the channel, feel free, jump down my rabbit hole, go check out my playlist, and maybe learn a little bit more. And for those of you returning, I'd like to say thank you. Very much appreciated. Thank you for you. You guys keep me going, and this is what I love about it. So today's video, once again, is another spur-of-the-moment video. We had some heavy rain. I went outside, took the dogs outside, and sure enough, I found a huge batch of puffballs. Now, I just recently did a video on puffballs, so if you haven't seen that video, and you don't know how to recognize or identify a puffball, and you want to learn how to identify, prep, and cook them, then I will include that video down below in the description. It's also in my playlist if you jump in there as well. And so that will give you that part of it. But today's video is going to be on what do you do when you end up with a big bunch of puffballs. Now, the thing with puffballs is you have a very short time to grab them. So when you see them, it's not something that you can say, oh, I'll come back next week and grab them. Next week, they'll be dead. And so I found this batch. They were all a day or two old, if that. Because they weren't in the yard when I was out the day before the rainstorm. So I went and picked these. There's still I didn't even pick half of the batch that I found. So this is only half. So today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys different methods that you can do if you want to hold on to these. How do you store these? How do you keep these so that you can use these in the future? So that's what we're going to start off with today. And so I'm going to show you multiple methods of storing these for a short period of time or for a long time, and be able to pull them out, say, months down the road and use them in your cooking. If you've never dealt with puffballs, again, do yourself a favor, go check out my first video on how to identify puffballs. That is very key because you can get mixed up with the couple. It also will help you understand them a little bit better. So, and how to cook them. So, let's go on. I'm going to show you the first step. Now, the first step is a very simple step. If you find a batch of puffballs like I just did, I'm going to probably use some of them tonight. I'm going to be cooking a pork loin. I might as well, since I have these, I'm going to probably do like a teriyaki sauce with them or something like that. Maybe even copy the recipe that I did in the video. And then I'm going to probably cook another batch of them tomorrow night because it is going to be Thursday. I do dinner with my mother and brother on Thursdays, and so I'll probably do another batch. So if you know you're going to be using these in the next few days, one thing that you can do to keep them is simply put them in a brown bag and put them in your refrigerator. If you do that, you have about 7 to 10 days. When I do that, I like to keep them whole, and then whenever I pull them out, then I'll go ahead and cut them in half, and then I'll determine whether they're still good or not. So that way you don't get sick. So always be careful that you know what you're doing with these so you don't get yourself sick. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the first method, which I got myself a brown bag right here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a couple handfuls Oh, lost one. Enough that I know that I'm going to eat within a week. So that's the first way that you can store and keep puffballs for a little while. That only gives you about 7 to 10 days. Look towards more the 7 days. If you push that 10 days, you might be pushing it a little bit too far. But like I said, keep them whole, cut them in half. You'll know whether they're good or bad. So I'm going to get set up for the next one. And the next one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a dehydration. If you have never dehydrated before or don't have yourself a dehydrator, that's okay. I'll show you different ways of dehydration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick some of these. I'm going to probably pick some big ones. I'll probably try to use anything that's a very large one, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be slicing these in half. We're going to put them on a tray. I'm going to be throwing them on my dehydrator. But if you don't have a dehydrator, what you can do is you can cut these in half, put them on a cookie sheet, put some parchment paper underneath it, put them on a cookie sheet, throw them in your oven, put them in your oven for the lowest possible temperature, okay? Now, everyone's stove is different. I've had people tell me their stove only goes down this far, some people go this far. I know what mine is, so it's hard for me to tell you how long, but I can tell you it's going to take more than 4 hours. So anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. The idea is we just want to dehydrate them. We want to take that water out, and we're going to dehydrate them. Then we're going to jar them. And then once that's done, we'll be able to keep them in that jar and keep them dehydrated. And then when you're ready to use them in cooking, we can pull them out of the jar. I like to soak them in a broth, like a chicken broth, especially with puffballs, because they do soak in flavor. So you could do a chicken broth or a beef broth and then do your cooking from there. Or you can just stick them in some water and let them hydrate. And then if you're going to do that, say if you're going to saute them, try to saute them in dry. Not with an oil, not with anything else, because then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of saute that water out of it. So, and then when you know the water is good and gone, we can go ahead and then add our whatever we want to stir fry them in, or whatever the ingredients we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly show you how I'm going to set them up for my dehydrator. Okay, so as you can see, I have my cutting board, I have a simple knife, make sure you got a nice sharp knife, and I got some racks, okay? And these are the racks I use in my dehydrator. So all I'm really going to do is I'm going to take my rack to the side. Now, like I said, when I'm dehydrating, I like to go for some of the bigger pieces. They cook a lot nicer, or they dehydrate a lot nicer, and they recover a lot nicer. So, like I said to you guys before, when you do cut a puffball, it should be white all the way through. Nowhere else should be any other color. If it start coloring, you're starting to see a yellow color, then they're no good. So don't use those in your cooking. Okay, so I just finished cutting the puffballs in half, and I made 3 trays just like this that are going into my dehydrator. This is the last tray, and I'm gonna get that started. So my dehydrator, I'm gonna be at like 85 degrees. If you're doing this by stove, you're not gonna get your stove down that low, most likely. So, like I said, you're gonna range anywhere from 4 hours to 8 hours. It depends on how moist these are. Like I said, I pulled these. We had a heavy rain yesterday. It's not too sunny today, so I'm sure they didn't dry out very very much. So I'm gonna start them off. I'm gonna go for 85 degrees. Probably go 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 hours. It might take a while to draw that water out and get them to where I want them to be. So again, if you're doing it by stove, put them on your stove, put them in your stove, turn your temperature down as low as possible. You want to do this very slowly. You don't want to cook them. We just want to dehydrate them. So again, anywhere from 4 hours, I'm going to say it's going to be 6 hours or more. So be prepared. And so I'm going to go ahead and put these in, and then I'm going to get set up for the next way that we're going to be able to cook these, put them in a container, and then put these in our freezer for later on for months down the road. And as you can see, I still have a ton left. Okay, so you guys ready for the third way to store puffballs? So as you can see, I have lost a good amount of my pile, and that's because I went and I cut about that much. It's a full bowl, all cut in half. Throw out any of the bad ones, anything that you see colored with any type of color on it. It's going to be like a yellowish color. Cut it off, get rid of it, either or. But put whatever all the good ones you got left in a bowl. And then our next step is we're going to soak this with some oil. So I get some oil in there. We're going to let that sit. So I'm going to let this sit for, a good 5 minutes. Then I'm probably going to come back, give it a little mixing, probably do that for another 5 minutes. And every 5 minutes, I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to let this soak in this oil for about 30 minutes. Okay? So let it soak for 30 minutes in the oil. Give it a good mixing. Be gentle when you do the mixing. Don't go hard on it. And I will be back in 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm back. It's been 30 minutes. These have been soaking. So I'm just going to give these one more good little stir, mixing up. And as you can see, we got a nice little coating going here. And so my next step is I've got a baking sheet. I got some parchment paper down. I'm just going to pour whatever I can on the baking sheet, and I'm going to spread these around. Now what I did is I preheated my oven for 350 degrees. Now what we're going to be doing is, and I'm going to try to separate these as much as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically be cooking them, but not 100% completely. And once we're going to put these in the oven, and we're going to let them cook for, about 20 minutes, half hour or so. And because they'll be partially cooked, what I can do then is I can take and put them in a container. I like to usually put them in a airtight, you can use Tupperware, like a nice tight Tupperware, something that's going to be air sealed. So there, I've got my tray. I've spread it out as much as possible. Oven's ready at 350 degrees. I'm going to stick them in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so these took about 25 minutes. And as you can see, we got, they're partially cooked, mostly almost cooked. Not fully cooked. And the idea is they're pretty much cooked. Now I'm going to put them you want to put them in an airtight sealed container. I'm going to be using my food savers. So I made a couple small bags. So I'm going to put these bags to put half of this in a bag. I got a couple, like I said. I like to do the amount that I usually use when I'm cooking, so that way you're not opening them up and closing them. And anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and seal these up. And then when I do that, I can put them in the freezer. And they'll be good for a few months. Okay, so now you see I have my bag. I got another little bag. And now I can put these in my freezer. And they'll be good for, like I said, a few months. And that should be good. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I hope you all learned a little something today. I hope you guys do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe as well. Share this with anyone else that you know that might enjoy this video. There's not too many videos out there that pertain to how you can store puffball mushrooms. So go ahead and share it, and I hope to see you all in the next video.